Good afternoon, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's economics lesson. My name is Letiane LG, and as always, this lesson is brought to you by the Free State Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. Today's lesson, we still continue with the main topic, which is economic pursuit, but we're still focusing on the subtopic under regional development. As per our different textbooks, we say this is topic number 10. And as always, this topic is covered in paper 1 for both prelim exam as well as final exam. This paper is relevant for question 1. This topic is relevant for question 1, question 3, question 4, as well as question 6 as an essay topic. So we'll be looking at the following as per our exam guideline, regional development. We're going to be outlining why is there a regional development, or what are the aims of regional development. We're going to also be focusing on South Africa's endeavors. And I always say when we look at this term, it seems to be confusing, but it's not confusing. That the word endeavors means efforts or attempts. So we'll be looking at South Africa's efforts, if I can put it that way, and eliminate the word endeavors. I'll be saying South Africa's efforts in terms of achieving regional development. We're going to be looking at what we call the spatial development initiatives, the corridors, the industrial development zones that are now converted into special economic zones, but we're going to be covering more about that. We're going to be looking at the special economic zones, and then we have to discuss those SDIs in South Africa and also linking them with the PPP, public-private partnership. We're going to be looking at what are corridors in discussion in terms of South Africa, the industrial development zones in South Africa, the special economic zones in South Africa in detail, and also the shortcomings as per our exam guideline, the shortcomings of the IDZs. Then also we're going to be looking at some various SDIs, corridors. We also need to be able to identify them in a map. So this is according to our exam guideline. When you finish the topic, you should tick to say, do I know the aims of regional development? Can I discuss South Africa's endeavors or South Africa's efforts or attempts in achieving regional development? That will be your SDIs. You'll get a mark for that if you know them. That will be corridors, also a mark. The industrial development zones, the special economic zones. So this is your possible essay grade 12. So this is your essay. Which question? Question 6. Which paper? Paper 1. So automatically you can tick to say, if you know this, out of the possible essays that are there under economic pursuit, this is one of them. Your spatial development initiatives, corridors, industrial development zones, and special economic zones in detail. So that is our essay for this topic. Okay. Then we're also going to be looking at some incentives that are there to encourage industrial development. If you can recall, we also mentioned the issue of establishing the manufacturing sector in our country so that we bridge the gap between the primary sector as well as the tertiary sector. And also that is in a way of bridging or limiting the issue of saying we have minerals in South Africa, but those minerals do not benefit us at the end of the day. The minerals go to other countries as raw as they are. And then after that, they come to South Africa as finished products, as expensive in all the efforts. So we are saying, therefore, let us establish industries in South Africa so that we can bridge that gap. All the sectors of the economy need to be involved here. It means we have to have a functioning secondary sector. We need to have a functioning primary sector. We need to have a functioning tertiary sector. Hence, a need to start industries. Hence, we are saying the issue of industrial development has to be there. So now the question will be, what are the incentives, therefore, to encourage industrial development in South Africa? So we're going to be looking at those industries in terms of the Small Business Support Program, the SEDA Technology Program, the Skills Support Program, the Critical Infrastructure Facilities or Program, the Custom Duty-Free Incentives, the Foreign Investment Incentives, the Strategic Investment Program, and the last one we're going to be looking at Service to Business Processes. So grade 12, all these are the incentives to encourage industrial development. Easily, if you know the concept, you can answer this, or alternatively, they ask you in question 3 or question 4 to say, name any 2 incentives to encourage industrial development in South Africa. Any of these incentives are relevant to that. But also, you need to understand each incentive independently from each other for the purpose of 8 marks. Then also you need to know these incentives collectively, also for the purpose of 8 marks at 3.4 as well as at 4.4, where maybe we're going to be saying, especially at 3.4, where the question may say to you, discuss Small Business Support Program and Foreign Investment Incentive as what? As incentives to encourage industrial development. That's a combination. I'm going to repeat that. These incentives are there to encourage industrial development. You need to know them independently from each other for the purpose of 8 marks, or you need to know them collectively. At which point, at the point where we are saying, discuss probably skill support program and custom-free duty incentives as incentives to encourage industrial development. So if you are looking at your exam guideline, or if you have covered the content, and then this should be a tick to say, I can discuss this for 8 marks. I can also discuss them as a comparison or discussing the difference between these different incentives. Then lastly, we're going to be looking at appropriateness of South Africa's industrial policies, outlining the appropriateness of those industries in South Africa. Then we'll be saying the topic is done. Then we can continue with the next topic. So, as always, you cannot learn these topics independently, but it's a collective or it's a continuous. Here we need to know the macroeconomic objectives as covered in topic 3 under public sector. And then we also continued with other topics. Also, we covered the issue of economic growth and development policies in topic 9, when we're looking at the issues of your reconstruction and development programs, when we're looking at the GIE, the NDP, ASGISA, etc. So all those policies are still applicable. We also mentioned the issue of the North-South divide, of which we looked at the countries that are developed and the countries that are still developing. In this instance, we also looked at the characteristics of countries, of developed countries, and the characteristics of developing countries. Under those characteristics, we also looked at the issue of industrialization, to say countries that are developed are highly industrialized, while countries that are developing are not industrialized. Then industrial development, as a definition, we said it is planning for and building new industries in certain areas, as well as expanding the existing industries in certain areas. Planning for and building new industries in certain areas, as well as expanding existing industries in certain areas. Why were we doing that? We were saying we are bridging the gap between the level of distribution in the country, where unemployment is relatively high and where the prices of goods and services are relatively high because of lack of industries in South Africa. Most of our finished products are imported goods. Then we also mentioned that these industries will help us in terms of promotion of economic growth in the country, which is the production of increase in the production of goods and services. So this is a pre-knowledge that we need to be acquiring grade 12s, get into this lesson. But remembering that our lesson is under the topic regional development, the initiatives or the endeavors, and also the incentives to encourage industrial development. Okay, so work with, let's look at the concept now. The concept regional development refers to policies that are aimed at increasing economic livelihood of specific area or specific areas. So those are the key words there. Increasing economic livelihood of specific areas. What does this mean, economist? This says to us, those areas that were neglected or the areas that are underdeveloped, they cannot actively participate in the well-being of the country. We cannot find ourselves being competitive on an international market. Why? Because there's an imbalance. Therefore, we need to go and focus on region by region within the province, within the country, so that can be, the imbalances can be avoided at the end of the day. So this regional development refers to those policies that are aimed to increase economic livelihood. It means in those regions, there should be industries that promote economic growth. They should be able to attract investment so that people may be employed in those regions, so that we avoid the imbalances as occurring. It can also be described as the provision of assistance to regions that are less economically developed. When we talk about economical or economic participation, we mean the ability to produce goods and services, the ability to employ people, the ability to retain people within those regions where they do not have to travel to other parts of the country to look for better services, to look for employment in other ways. So this regional development, this policy is aimed at providing the livelihood of those regions. And the main aim here is to organize all aspects of human development. This one relates to you and I. When I talk about human development here, I'm talking about the ability to access basic services such as water, the ability to access basic services in terms of housing, in terms of healthcare services, in terms of schools in the nearby, and in terms of employment in those regions that we stay at. Economic development, here we are looking at the affordability of those prices of goods and services, and also the participation within the economy. There should be something that each region proud themselves with, to say this product is proudly made in this particular region by the people that stay in that particular region. It is also there to improve infrastructure in those specific geographical areas. When we talk about infrastructure, grade 12s, you will understand that it talks to roads, talks to access to the railway, talks to airports, it talks to the issue of sanitation. All those things are associated with infrastructure. Then not only that, but we also move to telecommunication as part of infrastructure. Proper telecommunication network, where the issue of emails, the issue of communication can be done effectively, so that can promote industrial development, that can promote regional development. As we're doing industrial development, we mentioned that these are the cross-cutting issues that are needed. And also we're looking at energy as part of infrastructure. Access to electricity, the availability of that electricity to be able to produce goods and services cheaper in the factories, in the industries that we are developing in the particular region. So we are not focusing only on one area here, but we are looking at the country as a whole, region by region in that particular aspects. But let's also focus on other aims of regional development here. If I recap on this slides, mention that these are the policies that are aimed at increasing the economic livelihood of specific areas so that they can also participate in the economy, and also is to provide assistance to regions which are less economically developed. Then I also mentioned the issue of economically development is the participation in production of goods and services. And also we mentioned that the main aim is to cover all aspects of human development. This one talks to the issue of standard of living, economic development, infrastructure development, access to railway, access to roads, proper roads, access to water and sanitation under human and economic development. And also we mentioned the issue of telecommunication network, availability of signal that is strong so that messages can be received and messages can be sent as a form of communication. The issue of energy should be equally distributed. When I talk about energy, I'll be talking about the issue of electricity as well as fuel in those particular regions. Okay. So we'll focus on other aims, therefore, of regional development. It's a recap. Is to reduce unequal development of economic activities within the country. There shouldn't be an imbalance. And also, it is to stimulate development in poorer areas. It is to implement and coordinate the implementation of national as well as regional industrial policies to prevent new imbalances from emerging. I'll be asking you in terms of our country as South Africa to say, we've got 9 provinces. So in those 9 provinces, how is the level of development within those 9 provinces in terms of evaluation? Which province can you say it's mostly developed? Which province can you say it's mostly underdeveloped? And why is that the case? So that's a question that you can keep asking yourself or even answer as we go. And also, when we talk about the issue of imbalances, which province is mostly populated and which province is mostly underpopulated? And what could be the reason for that effect? If those questions are answered, hence I will say, hence the need for regional development. So that we don't have to ask ourselves those questions. Having 9 provinces in the country, the questions of which one is mostly developed, which one is mostly underdeveloped, shouldn't apply if we have to involve the issue of equality there. So the aim is to reduce inequality. That's the first one. The other one is to stimulate development in those particular areas for employment purposes, for economic growth purposes, so that we can achieve economic equity. And then also to prevent new imbalances from emerging. Imbalances, it is a situation where people vacate or leave their particular region, go to another region because it is better developed. So the other one is neglected with those people that are remaining there. We don't want to see a point where in South Africa we still have, say, this place is a rural area and this place is an urban area. There should be equal distribution, region by region. So those are the aims of regional development grade 12. Okay. Therefore, what is required in terms of the best practices for regional development? These are the international best practices for regional development. Number 1, good governance. So the question would be, when you see the word good governance, what comes to mind as an economist, or what comes to mind as a person when you see the word good governance? We are saying here, regional development strategies should be managed effectively and free of corruption. So the word good governance is associated with free from corruption. What are we saying? There should be a democratic decisions that are taken, transparency, and financial management, as well as control. So if we are to improve the livelihood of specific regions within the country, whatever industries or businesses or investments that will be made in those particular regions, those should apply to the best practices and should be of good governance. Then good governance, we are saying they should be free from corruption. As you realized when we were doing public sector topic, that the reason why public sector fail and the reason why there is lack of provisioning under public sector, one of those is because of corruption. So that should be eliminated for us to achieve best practices for regional development. The second one, it is the issue of integration. Integration is associated with spillover, where we are saying that we should ensure that the benefits of one region becomes a spillover to other industries and areas. We also mentioned that integration says we avoid centralization, where resources are focused only on one area, but we promote decentralization, where the regions equally so will also benefit. Whatever good practices are being performed in a particular region, they should have a spillover effect to other regions. That is what we call integration. What we find in Gauteng should be similar to what we find in the Free State, should be similar to what we find in the Northwest. That's integration. Partnerships. Here we are promoting the triple P, where we are saying there should be partnership with all the stakeholders within the country. There should be partnership between the central government, local authorities, civil society, special interest groups, the non-government organizations, as well as the private sector. So in other words, we are promoting the triple P. Public-private partnership here. So in our efforts to achieving industrial development, in our efforts to promoting regional development, partnerships should be involved in all levels, from the grassroots, that means from local municipalities, going to the regions or the provincial municipalities, the NGOs, the special interest groups. Here we're talking about unions and other special interest groups, the local authorities, the central government. Partnerships should be involved there for us to achieve best practices for regional development. Good governance, integration, partnership. Number 4, we are saying under number 4, it is the provisioning of resources. Sufficient resources should be provided in resource poorer areas, such as infrastructure and human resources. So to prevent new imbalances from occurring, those areas or those regions that are under-resourced or that do not have much resources, the focus or the shift should be in those areas so that they can also be promoted or uplifted to allow them to be able to participate in the terms of economical development. So hence we are saying that the issue of resource centralization should be avoided, but the issue of resource decentralization should be promoted. Number 5, it's the issue of competitiveness. Industries or businesses that are established in those areas or in those regions should be competitive by themselves. There shouldn't be a need for an ongoing financial aid from the government. You would realize, economists, that when we're doing the topic of public sector, under where we are mentioning the state-owned enterprises, that they lack self-sustaining. They lack self-sufficiency because they depend on bailouts or financial aid from the government. So in those particular industries that will be established in these different regions, those industries should be independent from the financial aid of the government. Yes, through the PPP, the public-private partnership, we are saying that the government should assist in providing infrastructure. The private sector should be there to provide finances. But those firms or those industries should be self-sustaining. They should be on their own without a need for financial aid from the government. And that can only happen, economists, if the best practice of regional development, number one, is achieved. And that one we are saying it is good governance, free of corruption. If that one is achieved, then the others can easily follow from there. Number 6, investment of social capital. This issue of social capital relates to human beings. So investment of people in another ways. So regional development concerns people and aims to serve the people of that particular region. We are not saying that if we want to develop a certain region in the Free State, people from Gauteng, or if we want to develop a certain region from Gauteng, people from the Western Cape, unless if their skill is deemed to be critical. But if it's a grassroots development where all those people need to be developed, it should be investment in those people. The social capital should be encouraged, where people in those particular regions should be encouraged to be developed in terms of the level of education, in terms of the skills that are deemed to be critical to achieve certain jobs or to work in those particular industries. Hence, I've mentioned the issue of training, education are very critical to improve productivity. And also in terms of providing essential goods and services that will increase the standard of living in those regions. People should be involved across all the spectrum of this regional development. So when I recap up until now, we mentioned that the first one, it is good governance, where we said should be free of corruption. Then the second one, we also mentioned the issue of partnerships. Then partnership, we said there should be involvement across all spectrum. Then we also mentioned the issue of integration, where we mentioned that there should be a spillover of those industries. Number 4 now, we are mentioning the provisioning of resources in those particular regions for them to be developed. Because argument will be, we are under-resourced, and there is lack of development. But now we are also saying, let there be competitiveness, where these industries that are established should be self-sustaining. They should not depend on an ongoing financial assistance or financial aid from the government. Investment of social capital, where we are saying people are involved here. The reason why we want to develop regions, it is because of people. So therefore, training and education is very important to improve productivity. And we understand that once productivity improves, there will be sufficient provisioning of essential goods and services. And that will also help to improve the standard of living. Okay. Number 7, free market orientation, where we are saying the government intervention in markets should be kept at a minimum. It should be minimized so that the forces of demand and supply and profit for efficient allocation of resources. In this case, we know that most of the parastatals or the state-owned enterprises, usually they do not continue, or they end up being privatized because of there's too much government intervention. So once industries are established, there should be little or minimal interference from the government. Those industries should be competitive on their own without any influence from the government, where the forces of demand and supply are achieved and the issue of profit motive is realized. The last one, it is the issue of sustainability. The capacity of the region has to support its own development. What are we saying? The natural resources and human resources of that particular region should be harnessed so that employment and sustainable development is achieved. So we are not only looking at human resource, but we are also looking at the exploitation of natural resources or the correct usage of those natural resources. How long can they last us? Will they be there also for the future generations to utilize them? That's the issue of sustainability. And if that's the case, the issue of underdevelopment within the regions will be eliminated. That's what we are saying. So these are the best international practices for regional development. Can you list them? Number one, we said it's good governance. Number two, we mentioned integration. Number three, we mentioned the issue of partnership. Number four, we talked about resource provisioning or provisioning of resources. Number five, we talked the issue of competitiveness. And then we also talked about the issue of free market orientation. That is number 7. Number 8, it talks to sustainability in that way. Okay, so those are some of the things that we can recall and remember grade 12s. So these are all the best practices that we are saying. Recall them, be able to know them independently from each other, and also be able to know them collectively. Now let's focus in terms of South Africa's endeavors. I mentioned that this term should not scare you. When you see the word South Africa's endeavors, it's South Africa's efforts. Efforts to do what? Efforts on achieving the macroeconomic objectives. The attempts to establish industries. The effort to promote regional development. The livelihood of those regional development. Those are the South Africa's efforts. So the word endeavors means attempts or efforts in that way. The first one, it is the issue of special economic zones. We call it SEZ. Definition, it is geographically demarcated area where specific economic activities have been identified to be developed. We stop there. This special economic zones is demarcated area, that means a segregated or chosen area for industrial purposes, where we say these economic activities, we know that economic activities takes place where there are enterprises or businesses have been identified to be developed. So those are the issue of special economic zones. They may enjoy incentives such as tax relief, support systems to promote industrial development. So those are the endeavors. Those are the efforts to achieve or to increase industrial development or industries within the country, and also to eliminate new imbalances from occurring in particular regions, hence regional development. It creates basis for a broader range of industrial parks, that's number 1, provide economic infrastructure, also enable the effective clustering of value-added employment, enhancing manufacturing or manufacturers. in terms of the companies. When I started the lesson, I mentioned that this is an effort or this is an endeavor to have all the three sectors of the economy fully participative. The primary sector, the secondary sector, the tertiary sector, of which we realize that primary sector, I mentioned that we are resource rich as a country, but those resources, they do not fully become beneficial to us. Hence, at the end of the day, they come to us as final goods and services in the tertiary sector. Why? Because there's a lack of industries in South Africa. So these special economic zones, grade 12s, were demarcated or were identified for those specific economic activities. Okay. The aim, one, it is to promote rapid development by acting as a magnet for investment in key growth areas. Now, you and I would understand, what does a magnet do? A magnet attracts investments. A magnet attracts growth within a particular region or within a particular area. So these economic zones are there to promote a fast development. Also, it enables the development of new industries in the regions through the establishment of new industrial hubs in underdeveloped regions and also strengthening the existing ones. That is when we defined industrial development. Then we are saying these special economic zones are used for the purpose of export promotion, enterprise development, urban renewal, rural development, and also we should benefit domestically and regional production in that way. So these are some of the aims of economic zones. Number one, magnet for investment in key growth areas. Number two, establishment of those new industries or enhancing the existing ones. And then the other one, for export promotion, so that once we produce goods in our country, having surplus of those goods can be exported to other countries. And also, within the areas that we stay in, the production of goods and services by default promote urbanization. Hence, we are saying urban renewal. By default, once there are factories, fully functional factories that adhere to the international best practices, rural development will be achieved. Then, the goods that are produced will help us domestically, that's a country, and also within the regions. Hence, regional production will therefore take place. Okay. The other ones, the first one we are saying, they are there to attract new businesses because of the incentive that they will be tax-free. They are there also in terms of to assisting the new businesses that are established in terms of the products lines and expand their operations. There is always a belief that there is nothing to produce anymore. But I don't believe in that, or we as economists don't believe in that. There is always new innovation and technology that allows us to produce some things. Or if those things are, the production already exists, let us look at who produces this products. Are they proudly produced products, or they come from other countries and then they're imported in our country? So the product lines that are established helps us as a country to be competitive as well on the global market. That is why we always say that if you take a plane, maybe you go to Swaziland, you take a plane, you go to Mauritius. Once you buy water, just look at where was it manufactured. Then if you check if it was proudly manufactured in South Africa or a proudly South African product, then you can also say we have made it on an international landscape through our new product lines that are developed. So that is why we need these special economic zones. This one cannot be left behind, grade 12s. It's our endeavor it's our effort to creating more employment for people in their neighborhood. Wherever that they are, there should be levels of employment. Even the young ones, when they grow up, their dream should be saying, if I can see myself working for that company, or if I can see myself working, being a CEO of that particular company, it's not far from them. It's within the neighborhood. It's within the region. Unlike when they want to finish, when they finish school or post university, then they leave their neighborhood to go and work in other parts of the country. Then those regions will be neglected or they will not be developed. Okay. So we also look at increasing productivity and economic growth. We have mentioned that. Promoting the effective use of the resources that are there, both the physical resources and both the social resources. When I talk physical resources, it's associated with infrastructure and mineral resources. The social resources, I'm talking about people that are well skilled and developed in those particular areas. Focus on both domestic production as well as goods that can be exported to other countries. I've mentioned product lines in that way. So these are the aims of special economic zones and the benefit that it may have in our economy, grade 12s. Okay. So, but for us to understand where are these special economic zones and where are these spatial development initiatives in South Africa, we have to understand our map. We have to know our country. So I will allow 2 minutes to name the provinces as they are numbered on the screen, so that we can check how good or how far we want to get this. 2 minutes. Realizing that, first of all, we cannot talk about regional development, or we cannot talk about industrial development, and also we cannot even be able to talk about the special economic zones or the spatial development initiatives if we do not know our provinces, or we do not know how is our country situated. It will also be difficult in terms of discussing it when we talk to the levels of development and resource allocation. Okay, you would realize that number one is this site. So let's check. Number one is KwaZulu-Natal. Okay. And then number 2 down there, I know that when you are with me, you can mark yourself and say, this one, if I were to be given it, I'll get 9 out of 9. Number 2, it is the Eastern Cape. Okay. Then number 3, it's on the far up. Okay. It is there, the Northern Cape. And then number 4, it's down on my far left. It is the Western Cape. Okay. Number 5, it's up on the north. Okay. Number 5, it's Limpopo. And then number 6, we'll say obvious. Okay. Number 6 is the smallest but the biggest province, which is Gauteng. In terms of population, we know that it's the biggest. And then number 7, it is the center city or the center province, which is the Free State. Okay. Number 8, it is Mpumalanga. And then number 9, it is the Northwest. So if you are able to label all these provinces as they are, 9 of them as they are, it could be easy for you to answer the questions. So, which province is the biggest? We understand that it is the Northern Cape, the largest in terms of the landscape. But in terms of population growth, it is the smallest. Gauteng, on the other side, it is the smallest in terms of landscape, but the most populated province. Why is that the case? That's a question that we need to ask ourselves. Then the answer would be because of urbanization, which is because of access to services, because of access to better job opportunities, while other provinces, such things are not realized. So the issue of centralization will be kept like that. It means more resources will keep being allocated at Gauteng. Gauteng will keep receiving the largest budget because of there is lack of regional development in other parts of the country. So there should be equal distribution within the country in general. Okay. So this exercise of the map is saying, know your map. You'll be able to know where are economic zones situated, where are special initiatives situated. Okay, so the list of designated economic zones in South Africa. The first one, it is the Kruger Special Economic Zone. This one is situated in the Eastern Cape in Gqeberha. So once you know that Eastern Cape, it's down on your far right, then it's easy for you to identify the special economic zones grade 12s. Even if an examiner would give you a blank map with one pointer to say, identify this special economic zone here, you can easily say, okay, I know now that's the one that is in the coastal on my right, it is the Eastern Cape. So it's easy for you to know that particular special economic zone. I've mentioned that number 1 is the Kruger, the special economic zone. It's in the Eastern Cape in Gqeberha. Okay, it is the largest in the Southern Africa. It was also designated or established in 2001 and became the first IDZ. So that means it's the biggest in South Africa, and it is the oldest in the country. Okay, where is it situated? It is situated in the east-west trade route. It serves both for the world as well as the African market. They specialize in skills development, transfer of technology, as well as job creation. So that is the special economic zone. And then your mind, grade 12, these special economic zones are industries. And then if we talk about industries, we are not talking about a small business, but we are talking about large enterprises or many enterprises within the same economic zone. that perform different duties with the duty of exports, economic growth, as well as employment creation in those regions. So number one is the Kucha, SEZ. Number two it's the Maloti Apovu, which is in the Free State. So if you can see, now there's an attempt to promote development. The first one that we've started with, it is in the Eastern Cape. And then the second one, it is in the Free State. So the issue of regional development is starting to be realized in this way. But we need more of those economic zones in the country as well. So this one, the Maloti Apofung SEZ, it's on your N3 route, which is in the Harrismith direction. Crucial link between Durban and Johannesburg logistic route, which is the N3. And we know that it was established to offer exporters a logistical base, because now it's in the middle between these two provinces, or between any other province thereof. I could also mention that from the Eastern Cape, KZN or Durban direction, Free State, it's a logistical route to that. Gauteng to other provinces, Free State, it's the logistical route to that. Linking to the two provinces, the Northern Cape, as well as the Northwest on the other side. So this becomes very crucial for the issue of logistics or supply chain, hence the establishment of this economic zone. We mentioned that it is there to offer transportation when you talk about freight in terms between the road as well as the railway. This economic zone, we are saying it is well suited, licensed for manufacturing. Also, it is there offering a convenient production base for light and medium manufacturing. So it is very important, therefore, grade 12s, know the economic zone, know why it was established, what is the purpose of that. So it also offers logistics, if you can remember that. Manufacturing is there in terms of light and medium manufacturing. That is the Maloti Apovu special economic zone in the Free State. Sometimes they can give you the pinpoint and say, in which province is this economic zone situated? Your answer will be in Free State. Or sometimes they can ask you, what does it specialize in? Your answer will be logistics, because it's in the middle, in the Harrismith N3 route. Manufacturing, light and medium. Okay. The other one that we are having, it is the Richards Bay Special Economic Zone. Where is it situated? It is in the coastal, in KwaZulu-Natal. So we are looking at the N2 route, business corridor there, that links between the other provinces. Then we are also saying it even carries up until it enters another country, which is Mozambique, in that way. Hence, we are saying it also benefits through the spatial development initiatives, which are the corridors. Then it is there to boost storage and manufacturing of minerals, product to boost beneficiation. Once we talked about this beneficiation, we said where we add value to the minerals so that they can be of benefit to us as a country, provide investment, economic growth, and most important, the development of skills and employment. So those are very key sectors or key elements of establishing this SEZs. Richards Bay, SEZ, which province? The KZN or KwaZulu-Natal, manufacturing, storage, as well as product mineral beneficiation. Most importantly, the issue of economic growth and employment will be touched there. Okay. Another one, it is the East London Special Economic Zone. Which province? The Eastern Cape. So already we have mentioned two economic zones now. The first one that we started with, which is the Kucha in Gqeberha. Then also this one that is in the Eastern Cape, but where? In East London. Provide innovation, efficiency, growth, and sustainability are the key to this special economic zone. And we understand that it was launched in 2003. It was there to promote the prime industrial park. And then also, it is there for the issue of automotive, agro-processing, and aqua culture. Automotive is the issue of vehicle assembly, where the vehicles or where vehicles have been assembled there. Then we all looked the issue of agro-processing, the issue of water, which is aqua culture on the other side. So if you need those, you'll find them under the East London Special Economic Zone, which province? In the Eastern Cape. Okay, the other one is the Saldanha Bay Special Economic Zone. So initially it was known as an IDZ. We understand that it was launched in 2013. And then also there, it is there to serve as a primary oil, gas, and marine repair engineering, logistic services, which are complex in Africa. So the Saldanha Bay, it's in the Western Cape. That means once you know your provinces, you remember that the Western Cape is on your bottom left side. You will find Saldanha Bay SEZ there. Then we also mentioned that it's the issue of production services that deal with oil and gas fields in sub-Saharan Africa. So once we do this, grade 12s, give yourself the special economic zone, know where is it situated, and also know what does it specialize in. Then you'll be able to understand the reason why it was designated or the reason why it was established. Okay, and then the other one is the Bojanala Special Economic Zone. In which province? In the Northwest Province. It's also known as the Platinum Valley SEZ, which clearly indicates the focus on mineral beneficiation of platinum group metals and etc. So this one deals with mining basically in the Northwest Province, hence the establishment of this special economic zone. The name of the SEZ is Bojanala SEZ or Platinum Valley SEZ. Province, the Northwest, specialize in mineral beneficiation with reference to platinum. Okay. Another one is the Dube Trade Port SEZ. It's in the KZN region. Also, we've got the Namakwa SEZ. It is in the Northern Cape province. So you can now look and say, we've mentioned most of the other provinces in terms of these economic zones. Then we can now do count to say which provinces have we not mentioned. The Free State was mentioned under the Maloti-Apofu SEZ. The Eastern Cape was mentioned twice with the East London SEZ as well as the Guga SEZ. The Western Cape was mentioned with the Saldanha Bay SEZ. Then we also mentioned the Northwest in terms of the Bojanala SEZ. Now we are also mentioning again, we mentioned KZN in terms of the Richards Bay SEZ. We are mentioning it again with the Dube Trade Port SEZ. So there are two there already. Then a province that we are also mentioning now, it is the Northern Cape with the Namakwa SEZ. It was recently launched in the special economic zone. Okay. Then we come to Gauteng. We've got what we call the OR Tambo Special Economic Zone. That is next to the main airport. Then we go to the far north. We'll find the Mosina Makado Special Economic Zone, which is in Limpopo. The Atlantis SEZ, which is in the Western Cape. So Western Cape has been mentioned twice now, with the Saldanha Bay and now with the Atlantis SEZ. The Tshwane Automotive SEZ was also launched in Gauteng. So Gauteng has got two now, which is the OR Tambo Special Economic Zone and the Tshwane Automotive Special Economic Zone. So as you go grade 12, you identify the province, you identify the SEZ, then also you check what do they specialize in this special economic zone. Okay, so those are the ones that we are mentioning. Then number 9, okay, we also have got the province which was in the far right on the north, which is Mpumalanga. There it is the Nkomazi, the special economic zone. Hear me correctly, I'm not saying Nkomazi, but I'm saying Nkomazi special economic zone. It's in Mpumalanga as well, of which I'll display that on the map so that you can also remember them as well. Okay, here are they on the map. I'll start on the far left. We've got the Maloti Apofu, which is situated in Harrismith or next to Ladysmith in the Free State. Down here, we've got the Saldanha Bay, SEZ, and also the Atlantis. Okay. Then on the Eastern Cape, we've got the Kruger, which is in Gqeberha, formerly known as Port Elizabeth. And then we also have got the East London SEZ. Up there in the KZN province, we've got the Dube Trade Port, and also we've got the Richards Bay SEZ. Then when you go up, you'll find in Nelspruit, Mpumalanga, you'll find the Nkomazi SEZ. Then up there, this side, you'll find the Gauteng SEZ. Those are the ones that are named at the moment, but there are more that keeps on being established as we go, with an effort to promoting industrial development, with an effort to promoting regional development. So any of this can be asked in the question paper grade 12, where a map is displayed, then where we give you a drop or a pin, where we say, identify the special economic zone in this particular province or in this particular pinpointing. So know those. This Namakwa SEZ, I've mentioned that it was launched recently in the Northern Cape in promotion of the issue of platinum as well as diamond mining. It is the key focus of this SEZ. So these are designated SEZs. You know them theoretically, and then also you know them on the map. Okay, then let's look at the regional development policies grade 12. These regional development policies will look at what we call corridors and what we call the spatial development initiatives, where we said a corridor, it's a passageway that links two areas, or when you are defining it, you will say it's a passageway from one area to another. So this corridor, it's a business hub area that links the two areas. It is an advantage for mining as well as manufacturing and tourism with other businesses. And once these corridors are there, we also developed what we call the spatial development initiatives in Africa, in South Africa. Look at that word again. I said it shouldn't be a difficult term, but should be a term that you use more often in economics. The term endeavor means it's an effort to do what? To attract infrastructure and investment in areas that are underdeveloped or underdeveloped areas. For the primary aim of creating employment, that's what we mentioned when we started. And also, it is there to make provision for the PPP, public partnership, with an aim of promoting those areas that are underdeveloped. So a corridor, a passageway from one area to another. A special development initiatives, it's the efforts to attract infrastructure and investment in areas that are underdeveloped. So those are the keys that we need to know and understand grade 12s. So these are part of the regional development policies. If we say name any two regional development policies, if you say corridors, you get a mark for that. If you say spatial development initiatives, you get a mark for that. Remember, this is also part of our essay. Which question? Question 6 under economic pursuit. We've mentioned number 1, we said these are the special economic zone. It's an essay. Corridors, it's another point. Special or spatial development initiatives, it's another point thereof. Okay. Okay, I will discuss them. So these SDIs are defined or can be defined as a link between important economic hubs and regions in a country, or it's a link that is known as a growth corridor. The main objective, it is to stimulate economic activities in terms of growth and employment in those areas, to attract investment, and to promote infrastructure in areas that are underdeveloped. We also mentioned examples of those are the issue of tourism and mining. SDIs are also there to improve infrastructure. We've mentioned that as well. So these are the efforts. They act as a corridor. They are there to stimulate economic growth and employment. They also promote or projects in that particular area. And then we can also mention reference to the issue of tourism as well as mining. They are also there to improve infrastructure for those economic projects. Okay. So this is the repetition of what we've mentioned. The stimulating of growth of SMMEs, enhancing empowerment of local communities, which is the regions, promoting private public partnership, attract investment. So those are some of those areas that we've mentioned. So this slide is there to remind you as a recall. In case for an 8-mark question, they say discuss spatial development initiatives. So those are the keywords there. Growth of SMMEs, empowerment of local communities, public-private partnership, attract investment with reference to tourism and mining. Okay. So if we can list them, the first one, it is the Wild Coast SDI. Where is it situated? It's in the KZN. So if you know your map, like we've mentioned, Wild Coast, it's in the KZN region. The other one is the Fish River SDI. Where is it situated? In Gqeberha, Port Elizabeth, or in the Eastern Cape. Okay, when we move, the West Coast Initiative, it is situated in the Saldanha Bay area, West Coast. It's in which province? The Western Cape. Okay. Number 4, Coast to Coast Corridor. Number 5 is the Platinum SDI. Number 6, Phalaborwa Maputo Development Corridor. Number 8 is the Limpopo SDI. Then number 9, it is the Richards Bay SDI. So knowing your provinces gives you an upper advantage here, grade 12, to say you are able to identify those particular SDIs. I'll make an example of this one. The Platinum, it's situated in, if you remember when we did Bujanala SEZ, it was also known as the Platinum Valley. So the Platinum SDI is in the northwest. Phalaborwa SDI, it's in the north, which is Limpopo. And then the Maputo corridor, you realize that the corridor links with other countries. So it's associated with the link between the KZ and the Mpumalanga part going outside to Mozambique. Same applies to the Limpopo corridor. It's in the north. The Richards Bay SDI, it's in KwaZulu-Natal. Okay. So those are the ones that we need to remember. Then again, I'll show you on the map. Okay. West Coast, Saldanha Bay area, Western Cape. Fish River, Eastern Cape. Wild Coast, Eastern Cape. Moving, the Richards Bay, SDI, which is also known as the KwaZulu-Natal SDI, it's in the Eastern Cape. Then outside there, towards your Swaziland, you'll get the Limpopo SDI. Then up in the Mpumalanga side, going outside to Mozambique, which is the border link to Mozambique. That is where we get our special development initiative. Remember we said they act as a corridor or as the link from one area to another. Then someone will ask you, what is a corridor? Then you mention that it's a passageway or a tract of land that allows a link from one area to another for economic hub or for business purposes with reference to mining, manufacturing, and export-related issues. Up there, it is the Phalaborwa SDI. Then in the northwest, we also get the Platinum SDI. So these are those special development initiatives at grade 12s. Okay, so we'll just do this activity for 5 minutes. Then after that, we'll be able to mark our activity. Then we wrap up the session. Okay, starting now. Welcome back, grade 12s. It was an interesting passage, I know. Then let's check if we got 10 out of 10. This is a typical section B question. As you can see, the activity was taken from the Free State Prelim Exam 2023. And it was an extract from question 4.2. And like I've mentioned, that these economic pursuit questions are there in question 1, question 3, question 4, and question 6. So if we read this, the statement itself, the heading says, the dysfunctional Maputo corridor. Now, if you have not learned about this SDIs or what is a corridor, it will be difficult to even understand what are we talking about here. And if you don't know where is the Maputo corridor in a map, also it will be difficult for you to answer part of the questions. If you understand, you realize that the Maputo corridor is up in the north. Okay? The government needs to address the severe congestion at the Limpopo or Resano, Gracia border post, which has cost trucking companies 1.3 billion rand that is lost in revenue so far this year. Okay, look at that amount of money and a corridor, it's a link. Okay, let's look at the questions. Probably they're going to ask us that. 4.2.1 says, give a word or a phrase from the information above that serves as a reason for the dysfunctional Maputo corridor. Okay, so our solutions there. The answer is severe congestion. That's a problem. That's that. It acts as a dysfunctionality there. So you look at that because of it's a link from one area to another. It means at the border post for between these two countries, there's no proper flow of the tracking there, especially in terms of clearing with customs, so that the goods and services can be can enter the country and goods and services goods can leave the country, so to say. So this is a problem that needs to be solved so that this corridor can function again. 2, which is 4.2.2. Which African country is associated with the corridor indicated above? You see the questions now, grade 12. It says for us, we know our map domestically, regionally, provinces. Then after that, we can be able to know how does this corridors link with other parts of the country. Let's see if you got it correct. Okay, the answer there is Mozambique. So if you've got that as the answer, 1 mark for you. So it's already 2 out of 10, 20%. Let's look at the next question, which says, briefly describe the term corridor. Okay, your answers. It's a tract of land that forms as a passageway allowing access from one area to another and is developed as part of regional development. Or if you just said a corridor refers to a passageway allowing access from one area to another. Up until there, you still get your 2 marks. But a full understanding is this one. It's a tract of land that forms as a passageway allowing access from one area to another. And it is part of regional development to promote those regions for business hubs. So if you've got this, you've got 4 marks already. The first one, the second one, the third one, 40% out of this question already. Okay, we'll look at question number 4, which is 4.2.4. It was saying, explain free market orientation as international benchmark criteria. Or they would also say as the best practice for regional development. So when you are looking at this grade 12, I mentioned that these best practices, we know that there are 8 of them. Know them collectively and also know them individually, so and be able to compare those. So free market orientation, you would understand that when we're saying free market orientation, something must come in there. There should not be an interference, or if it's there, it should be minimal. But interference by who? Okay. This means that government intervention must be minimized, okay, in the market, so that the forces of demand and supply and profit motive ensure effective allocation of resources. But even if you said, because it's a 2-mark question, even if you said this means that there should be minimal, or a government intervention should be minimized so that the market forces can function effectively. That's your 2 marks already. We're not saying that put it exactly as it appears in the marking guideline. We'll accept any other correct relevant answer as long as the issue of government intervention is mentioned and the word minimal is also mentioned there. You'll get your 2 marks. Okay, the last one. What are the objectives of government with regards to corridor? Okay, corridor, they promote high levels of economic efficiency and productivity. They are also promote the PPP, public-private partnership. Also, we are saying they are efficient urbanization through the improved usage of that land for transport purposes. Now, because already in question 4.2.3, we asked you to briefly describe the term corridor, and we allocated 2 marks for that. If you mention the descriptive again here of what a corridor is, you're not going to get marks for that because already they've been awarded. So it will be repetition. But here we are not asking you what is a corridor because you've already told us what is the corridor. The question asks you what is the objective of government establishing those corridors or those the special initiatives. They are there to promote high levels of economic efficiency and productivity. They promote the public-private partnerships, and also they help us through urbanization and also the usage of that land for transport purposes. Hence, we are saying those are the aims, but we'll accept any other correct and relevant response grade 12s. So in short, those are some of the endeavors in South Africa's endeavors in achieving regional development. With that, grade 12s will be saying, thank you for watching this lesson. See you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.